did you actually read what Jesus said?
Right.
He's either crazy, a liar, a lunatic, or he is who he says he is, and he's Lord. And so that's the conclusions we have to come up with. You can't say things like this.
Right.
I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me, and say, well, he had good things to say. No, the guy's crazy at that point. Or it's true.
The Mike Charleston Show.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to the Mike Charleston Show. And we are missing Chuck Tate today. So, yeah, we're missing him. And it's just Larry and Sarah and I. So welcome, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Busy weekend.
So we have a busy show for you. We've got a couple emails. Our consultant emailed us, and so we have to change a bunch of things here. We've got some responses to some of the videos that we've done, and we got I don't know if we have another question. A couple of emails, and we got your history segment and Sarah's Song of the Week, and the marriage moment, and our topic for the day. But first, real quickly, we did go to Ohio. Everybody went to Ohio. Chuck and Larry did too. Chuck's still there. Yeah, that's where he is.
He went fishing yesterday.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Did he catch anything?
They got a lot.
Oh.
Well,
cool.
So,
the first time.
Did he catch 153 fish?
Wasn't that many. Okay. No.
So we went up to the Ohio Fellowship Camp. I guess that's what they call it.
Yeah.
And got to saw a number of the listeners, watchers. I don't know, viewers. Most of them are podcasters, probably.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe not.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Meeting people. It was kind of awkward a little bit.
Yeah.
Meeting people that knew you, but you didn't know them.
A number of people came up to me. Was like, I know the voice, I know you, but you don't know me. And I was glad to meet them. So there was a number of people I got to meet, and I'm sure you got to meet too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying you're their favorite. I'm like, well, that's it. We're cutting Larry off. And
No, that cost me a lot to have him say that. But.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, okay. No, that's all right. Well, anyway, so today's subject matter today, so we don't have Chuck with us, but we've been going through the book of John, the Bible Bee. Our kids are part of the Bible Bee, and we've been doing the book of John for Bible study.
Leviticus.
No, John is not Leviticus.
It's not like Leviticus
at
all.
Not at all.
Actually.
But in John, it's a great book, obviously, and it's one of the better books on who Jesus is. I mean, that is the whole thrust of the book, is who is Christ. And so we wanted to, as we're studying this, we wanted to point this out. I think most people know this, but maybe not. You know, there's 7 I ams in the book of John. And so we're going to talk about the 7 I ams.
Wasn't there also
today.
7 miracles?
I'm not so sure about that.
I
thought there was 5.
I feel like I read somewhere they had 7 I ams and 7 signs.
Yeah, 7 signs.
miracles.
And I don't know if they necessarily matched up, but that's a good question.
Yeah. I thought there were 7 miracles, but maybe not. But I'm pretty sure there are.
I mean, I got a computer right here. I could quickly say how many miracles.
I think
were
there
in
were
John.
at least 7, but I guess it depends on how you count
because
things.
I thought that we talked about this before in Bible study, and I said, well, I think there's 8 because the last one is Jesus raising himself from the dead.
Is that a miracle?
I would think so. But.
John records only 7 miracles. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Okay.
7 miracles.
Well, so
I can't believe you doubted.
when you talk about, you say 7 I ams.
Yeah.
What do you think is so important about an I am?
The I am. So people are like, so what? There's 7 I ams. What do you mean I am? So like I said, I assume most people know this, but maybe not. And I don't want to take anything for granted.
Right.
And if you don't know something, you're probably going to learn something new. And if you already know this, then hey, be encouraged.
That's right. Refresher.
But way back in, is it Exodus?
It is.
3:14.
Yep. Exodus.
There's a whole story there about Moses, who's going to lead his people out of. God wants Moses to lead his people out. Let my people go. And Moses is arguing and being like, I can't.
Don't pick me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. And people don't like me.
And besides that, who am I going to say sent me?
Right. And so the Lord spoke to him and said, say, I am sent you. And you're like, I am. Okay.
I am that I am.
Right. And then he actually sends signs with him.
Yep.
Once again, this is the connection here. There's signs that followed him to prove what he had said. And so he was like, I am who I am. And so I am is a very important thing for the Jewish mind.
Right.
Like they know who the I am is. And so anyway, Moses then goes, which, by the way, this is just a total side note, something I found very interesting as we were studying for this. And I don't know if I was studying for something else, but a number of the pictures of Christ in the Old Testament, especially the kings and all that, people who are deliverers,
Right.
they all were rejected the very first time they came. Like Moses was rejected the first time he went.
Oh, yeah.
Joseph was rejected by his
Right.
brothers, and they all went into exile or something with amongst the Gentiles.
Well, even David, he was the last
Rejected.
son.
Yeah.
Yep. He was
And,
rejected, and he went
yeah.
amongst the Gentiles, and
Right.
and then came back as a conquering king. So there was a number of those examples, and I thought that was kind of
that's-
interesting.
yeah,
So-
I never thought about that.
Yeah, that's not our subject, but
No, but that's good. I
yeah.
never thought about that.
That's an interesting little side note.
Okay, so we have these I am statements.
Right.
But why 7? Got
Well,
any
so
ideas?
7. So if you're into numerology, and I'm into numerology on a scale of 1 to 10, about a 7. So, right. I like what I did there. Huh?
And that means the study of numbers, and just in
Right.
case.
Okay. Numerology is the study of numbers.
I don't want to be condescending. Or
No. But the number 7 in the Bible, most people agree, is the number of completion or
Right.
perfectness, and it's a very significant
Well,
number.
by the way, I mean, the numbers in the Bible, it is amazing when you do study that.
Yes.
And you see how it all works out. It is amazing.
It is.
It's a miracle, but yeah.
Well, honestly, and people like Chuck Missler does a deep dive
Oh, yeah.
in some of these
Yeah.
numbers and the mathematical things that actually proves the Bible
Yeah.
in a very, that the Bible has to be not human made
No,
because of the structure of how it was. And anyway, one of the structures is the heptadic structure.
Easy for you to
Heptadic.
say.
Heptadic. With the D at the end, not a T. Heptadic. Right.
Right.
Okay. I was looking up this other one and kept coming up with liver issues. And I'm like, no. I want the heptadic structure. And the heptadic structure is mainly where it's a bunch of 7s and within the text. And so John purposely has 7 I ams about Christ and 7 miracles
Right.
of the
Yeah.
signs for a very, very specific reason. I'm pretty sure he did that, or at least God did that.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Because the book of John is basically who Christ was.
Right.
And
And when we actually look at the 7, it's going to be pretty clear that he's saying who Christ is. So an example of the heptadic structure is the biggest one that you can really see is in Revelation.
oh, yeah.
And we all,
Yeah.
and if you study your Bible any length of time, you know that you have a list you don't have the list right there.
I do
Where is
have
it?
the list.
I got it.
Well, the book of Revelation, I heard recently somebody say that there were 50, just clearly where it says 7
Right.
in Revelation, but then there's probably over 2,000 if you search a little deeper and you know,
Right.
it doesn't just say 7, but when you look a little deeper, you're
Wow.
like, oh, there's actually 7 of that. There's 7 of that.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's some of it's hidden in there, like you were
Yeah.
saying, and some of it's pretty clear.
Right.
Like 7 bowls and the 7 churches.
7
and
churches,
there's
yeah.
7 spirits, 7 eyes.
Yeah.
You know, there's a number of them. You have the 7 stars, the 7 bowls of wrath, the 7 trumpets, the 7 promises to the overcomer. That's interesting. That's more of a hidden one, I'm guessing.
7 lamps.
7 lampstands,
Yeah.
7 plagues.
7 plagues, 7 mountains.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
7 kings.
Yeah.
And it's so just do your own search in Revelation. There is plenty of the heptadic structure there. It's within the 777 all over the place. And so Revelation is a very interesting study in and of itself. And when you
Right.
count the actual words in Revelation, comes out to 12,000 words.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we're talking about number 7.
That's 12,000 only in the King James Bible.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
want to clarify that.
I understand.
All right. So back to the 7 I ams. What is the first I am
First one. Okay,
statement?
so now we're getting into the 7 I ams,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So these are all great stories. I mean, if you're reading the book of John, these are awesome stories. So we're not going to do like a deep dive in all 7. We don't have that much time.
Right.
So we're going to just briefly go over them. You should go back and reread some of them. Maybe we'll throw out a little nugget or something. I don't know, but we're not going to spend. We could easily spend an hour on each one of these.
Right.
And we were tempted to do that, but no one's in for a 7-part series. So anyway, the first one is the bread of life.
Yeah.
That wouldn't go over very well today.
No, unfortunately, I watched a video on YouTube. It was How America Ruined Bread.
Okay.
Was the title.
Wow.
And basically, and you can see this, they took the wheat, stripped all the good stuff out of it, left just the flour.
Sure.
And then added stabilizers and dough enhancers and things like that to make it more shelf stable.
Sure.
And softer. But bread, the wheat, when you make the whole wheat, it's actually life sustaining.
Right.
You got the whole germ, the wheat germ and all that in it. And
It's really, really good for you.
and it's been a staple of civilization since the beginning of time. So
That's why prisoners are given bread and water, right?
yeah, right. Well, and that's why I think Jesus referred to himself as the bread of life. And you see that, what did God feed the Israelites? It was some sort of bread or
Manna.
manna.
Right. Manna
Yep.
from heaven. Well, and the other thing is right before this, right before he says he's the bread of life, the story is he feeds the 5,000.
Yeah.
And then he challenges them on their thinking and is like, well, you only follow me because I gave you bread.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I am the bread of life. And that's got to, like, what are you trying to say? And even he goes so far as to, if you don't eat
Right.
of my flesh
Yeah.
and drink
You're
of my blood, you have no part of me. And so they're like, whoa,
Is
okay.
he talking about being a cannibal?
Right. What are we doing here? But he's the bread. So like you were saying, it's a sustainer. It's a basic thing that keeps
Right.
us alive. And bread. So it's food. It's sustenance. It's
Well, what I like is that he says he is the bread, not that he gives us bread.
right.
Right.
Like he did in the Old Testament,
Yeah.
gave a manna, which is great and all, but he is the bread.
He is.
So it's not just something he gives us, it's
And I
something
gotta
he
tell
is.
you, there's nothing better than a hot, fresh loaf of bread coming out of the oven with some butter on it and some
Yeah.
honey. That's,
I do like some butter on. Yeah. Anyway.
or if you fry it and put some sugar on top.
Okay,
that's
well, we
nice.
should probably move on to number 2 before we get too hungry.
So number 2 is the light of the world. Now, this one's an interesting one. The story, he comes out and is John 8:12, right?
Yep.
You want to read
It
that?
says, Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life.
Now, I was reading somewhere where one of I think it was the festival of
Feast of Tabernacles.
Booths, Tabernacles, is that the same thing?
Tabernacles.
Right, yeah.
The Feast
It
of
might be the same.
I think it's the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tabernacles, where they light this huge menorah type thing. I don't know if it's technically a menorah, but it's this candle stand. They light this thing and it lights up like basically the whole city,
Yeah.
and it's a very bright thing. And light is a very important thing to the Jews. It's important to everybody,
Right, yeah.
The light. I mean, when you're in darkness, you can't see. And the fascinating thing about this one is right after he says this, he heals a blind man.
Yeah.
So, okay, I am the light, and let me prove this. I'm going to let this guy see again because
Yeah.
he was in darkness.
Yeah.
Now he's in light. And so I like that little contrast there.
Oh,
Where,
yeah,
right after he says this, he heals the blind man. And light is a very important thing.
Yeah.
Darkness can't overcome light, but light will overcome darkness.
Yeah, it's fun, and it doesn't take a lot of light.
Nope.
Like you go into a room that's completely dark, and you have a little bit of a light, and it's amazing how much your eyes can adjust to that little bit of light and how much you can see.
Well, you can see, even in war, they tell people don't smoke or what, because you're at night,
Yeah.
and you can see that little speck,
Yeah.
from a long ways away, and you're like, you just gave away your position,
Right.
So,
And like
yeah.
you said, you never hear of a dark room overpowering the light. The light
Right.
always overpowers the darkness.
So he is the light. Also, in the Old Testament, they were the cloud by day and the fire by night.
Right.
And I was listening to someone, and I didn't quite understand how he was getting this, but he's basically saying he's that cloud also, the cloud and the fire that lit up the night, but the cloud protected. And the next story was the woman caught in adultery, how he protected that woman from being stoned. And I thought, okay, well, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, good point.
All right,
Plus, in the desert, the light at night would help keep them warm
Yes.
as well. So, provide comfort, security, warmth, all
Sure.
that.
I mean, that is who he is, right? So number 3 is I am the door.
Yeah, and some say the door of the sheep.
The door of the sheep?
Yeah.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
But I am the
And-
door. That's John 10:7.
It says, Then said Jesus unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep.
Right. I am the door. So, people are like the door of like salvation. Sure, that works. That's fine. And I was listening to some guy this past week, and he was saying something about how one of the miracles was, and I'm not sure if it was right before or right after. We were trying to look that up just to confirm something. But we know this. One of the stories was the lame man, and he wasn't allowed to go into the temple.
Right.
They locked him out. They shut the door on him. And Jesus now is the door, and he's opening it up, and he healed him, and now he's able to come in to the place of worship,
Right.
synagogue, and so he is the door, and he lets things in, keeps things out, and of the sheep. So
And doors, I don't know, with so far all of these, I mean, they're pretty basic. Bread is basic, light.
Right.
Door, I mean, like he's describing himself
Right.
in very simple terms. And I don't know, like for us after the flood, it's like doors are,
Yeah.
you just don't think how
we
important
didn't
a door
have doors
is.
for a long time, and
But I mean, when we flooded, we didn't have doors, and we started, every week or month or whenever we would get another door, it's like, wow, I have a door.
Yeah.
Like it makes a huge difference, and you just don't consider how important a door is until you don't have them.
Well, yeah, and doors, like with the light, doors give us a sense of security, knowing that we are blocking whatever's on the outside from
Right.
coming in.
right,
Yeah. Well, and the door for the sheep, because, if you understand how the sheep were kept in this
Right.
like pen type thing, and there was a doorway, and
shepherd would lay down.
it would actually lay down and create a
Right.
door so
Right.
nothing could come in or out to protect the sheep through the
Yeah,
night.
he was
I
the
thought, wow.
barrier
Yeah.
protecting them.
Right.
Yeah.
Which obviously leads us to number 4, and that is I am the great shepherd. Now, this one I could go on and on for a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because this one has great significance. In the Old Testament, a shepherd is generally the leadership of Israel. It's a picture of the leadership of Israel, specifically a king. And where were the kings? And Jeremiah and I know specifically in Jeremiah and maybe Ezekiel, I think it was, where they talk about where the shepherds are. Where were they?
Right.
Why did
Yeah.
Babylon come in and take them away? And they blame basically the shepherds, the kings, and the kings had failed them. The leadership had failed them. And that is the exact same thing today. Look, if you are putting your trust in a man, they're going to fail you.
Right.
And everyone is going to fail you. I don't care what church you're part of. We just did one thing about the shiny, happy people. You put your faith and trust in a man to lead you, you're going to go astray.
Right.
It's just that
Yeah.
fact. But he is that great shepherd, and not only the shepherd, but a good one.
Right.
And he talked about how there's a wolf, and that there's the sheep, and that there's the good shepherd, and there's a hireling. And there is a bunch of hirelings out there. And he is not a hireling. He lays down his life for
Right.
the sheep, whereas everyone else is concerned about their own skin. And I don't care, how good you are. Eventually, you do look out for number one somewhat.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
But Jesus doesn't. He gave his life for the sheep. And so he is the good shepherd. And by saying that, he is kind of referring to himself as a king, the good king. I will not lead you astray. I will not. I will guide you and protect you because I am the good shepherd.
Well, and the sheep were dependent upon the shepherd for
Absolutely.
food, water, shelter, protection, everything. They were.
Yep.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go
and
ahead.
one of the most famous passages of the Old Testament, Psalm 23,
Yes.
says, "The Lord is
Oh,
my
my
shepherd."
shepherd.
So it's like we know of God referring to himself as a shepherd in the Old Testament. Now Jesus comes in the New Testament, and he's
Says, "I
saying,
am the shepherd."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't the when Joseph was bringing his family into Egypt, he said, just you want to stay on the outside, or they're kind of rejected because they were shepherds,
Right.
and the Egyptians didn't like shepherds.
Yeah, shepherds wasn't a very sexy position,
Right,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you are living out with the sheep, and it wasn't a very safe thing. I mean, look
No.
at David. David was a shepherd,
Yeah.
and he had to kill a lion and a bear, and it was a very dangerous job.
Yeah.
But David was once again a picture of Christ,
Right, yeah.
a king, and he was a shepherd. And where do you think he learned about all that? Being a shepherd.
Shepherd, yeah.
And but he wasn't the good shepherd.
But he was a picture.
Right. He was a good shepherd, but
Yeah.
not the good
They're not-
shepherd. And
yeah.
that's what they were saying, that, hey, I am the good shepherd. I am the
Yeah.
good shepherd. All right. So where are we
All
at
right,
now?
so next we have number 5.
Number 5, the good one right here, the resurrection and the life, right? Not that they're not all good, but
Yeah.
in John 11:25-26.
It says, Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this?
Yeah. So in context, which is like, who's her? It was Mary, right?
Right, yeah.
That was Lazarus' sister.
Yeah, because Lazarus had died.
Lazarus stinks.
Yeah.
And he's been dead for 4 days.
Right.
And he said, believe in me. And she actually agreed. She's like, yeah, in the what? The
Right.
final resurrection.
Yeah, at the end of the age. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, no.
Nope. Right now.
And
Yeah.
the look on her face probably was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What do you mean?
And so once again, another sign that what he just said, he's about to do. And so it's
Yeah.
one thing to say, I am the resurrection. It's another thing.
To actually do it.
Yes.
Well, and that's the raising of Lazarus. That was considered the last miracle he did in the book of John. So you see a kind of a progression. He gets to the end and
Right.
says, I demonstrated I'm God, and now my final demonstration is I have power over life and death.
Yep. I'm in
Wow.
control here of the life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, hey,
And he even waited. He knew Lazarus was, because he told his disciples, he found out he was sick and he waited.
Right.
And he says, okay, it's time, because Lazarus he's trying to be kind about it. And he said he's asleep. And they're like, well, if he's asleep, that's good. He's like, no, he's dead. It's
He's
time to
dead.
go.
Yep.
Which to me, I would be like, well, then why are we going if he's already dead? And then Mary and Martha, they get there and they kind of say,
If you were here.
Yeah, what happened?
Right.
Why didn't you come heal him? But he's like, I'm going to show you something better than the healing that I could have done if I was here earlier.
Yeah, because there was a healing earlier. I don't think it was in the book of John, Jairus' daughter.
Right.
And the 3 disciples, Peter, James, and John, were there, and they saw it.
Yeah.
But to me, they're probably like, okay, she had just died. Whatever, we saw God raise him
Yeah.
from the dead. But 4 days?
4 days.
Like,
And-
he is dead.
Yeah.
He is.
We don't want to open that tomb.
Right, right. But he was like, he could do this one, he could do that one. So yeah, resurrection and the life.
Yeah. So I was listening to somebody talk about this when they were talking about you have to ask yourself, why was there death in the first place?
Why was there death? Because sin entered the world, right?
Right. Yeah.
In Romans 5:12, wherefore as one man's sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for all have sinned.
Right.
So death is the result of that sin. That was the punishment on the human race. So that's why even after you get saved, you're still going to die. That's still the punishment for sin, and we still have sin. Like, just because we are washed clean by the blood of Jesus Christ doesn't mean that our personal acts of sin are still attached to our physical bodies, and so we're still dying.
But that raises a good point. What gave Jesus the ability to say and to demonstrate that he is the resurrection and the life?
Because he
And-
was sinless.
Right. He overcame sin.
Right.
It wasn't because he was God, which he was, but he was also man. He
Right.
was flesh and blood just like we are.
Right.
And he was tempted just like we are, but
Right.
he overcame. So
Yeah.
his overcoming sin gave him the ability, he earned the right to be that overcoming Savior.
All right, number 6, right?
Number 6, yep.
What do we have? Number 6.
The way, the truth, and the life.
The way, the truth, and the life. John 14:6.
Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me.
So he's just like, this is exclusive. And
Yeah.
this is the problem. A lot of people like to say, well, Jesus was a good person.
Right, yeah.
And Jesus had some good things to say. Well, like Josh McDowell and C.S. Lewis before him, made these arguments. It's not new to us or unique to us, but did you actually read what Jesus said?
Right.
He's either crazy, he's
Yeah.
demon possessed, or he's a liar, a lunatic, or he is who he
Lord.
says he is,
Yeah.
and he's Lord. And so that's the conclusions we have to come up with. You can't say things like this.
Right.
I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And no man comes unto the Father but by me, and say, well, he had good things to say. No, the guy's crazy at that
Right.
point.
Yeah, he is.
Or it's true.
Or it's true, yeah.
And so that's the question you have to ask yourself. Do you really think he was crazy? So all those nice little things he says, you do have to realize it's either true or it's not true. You
Right.
can't have it in between.
Yeah, there's no middle ground. He didn't leave any middle ground.
Right.
So it's either he is who he says he is, or he's not.
Right.
Yeah.
And
He's just some
obviously,
lunatic.
you could probably guess what we believe. But yes.
But in another passage, to tie this together, he says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free."
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you know Jesus,
And he'll set you free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is the truth.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
All right, we got one more.
And the last one.
The last one, the true vine,
The true vine, John 15:1.
says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman.
So the vine refers back to Israel in the Old Testament
Right.
on a few occasions. You have some of those.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor for God's vineyard, and the nation of Israel is his vineyard. And Psalms 80:8-9. What does that say, babe?
It says, Thou hast brought a vine out of Egypt. Thou hast cast out the heathen and planted it. Thou preparedst room before it, and didst cause it to take deep root, and it filled the land.
Yes, in Isaiah, Israel is the vineyard. I don't know if we want to read all of what, I guess it's just this one, but now I will sing to my beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved hath a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes, wild and sour. So now we see why Sarah reads the Bible verses. And so, yeah.
Sour
But
grapes.
Israel wasn't fruitful like
No.
God
Right,
had hoped
yeah.
that it would be. And so that was kind of the problem. And so, but you had this vine that had grown up. And so he comes and says, I'm the true vine. So that
Right.
meant a lot more to them. And we're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's-
if you know anything about a vine, obviously you can just say, well, the vine, I can't do anything apart from him. That's true, because the vine, produces. But that is so true. That's what Israel was lacking. They weren't that true light. They
Yeah.
weren't the light of the nations. They weren't free. They were enslaved many times because of going after other gods. And so he is that vine, that is the truth, the way, the life, and
Yeah.
he is the one that will bring forth the fruit. So,
So
Another-
everything we need comes from him.
Right,
Since he's the
everything
vine.
we need.
That's-
Another picture of that is when Moses sent out the 12 spies, and they came back. 2 of them were carrying a cluster of grapes. It took 2
Yeah.
men to carry it. That was the promised land.
Right.
It was so fruitful, and
Yeah.
right.
they would have had grapes aplenty, I guess.
Yes, grapes aplenty.
Yeah.
They had big grapes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be good or not. If I had a grape this big, and I like grapes,
Yeah.
but
I think
you
it'd
like
be good.
white or purple grapes, red grapes.
I like them both.
Yeah.
What's the other one? The long moon shape or something? I don't know, but they're good.
They have a bunch of grapes now.
Yeah.
Cotton candy grapes.
Oh, yeah. Those
We
are
have
really good.
muscadine grapes around here.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah. I
Just the
guess.
skin gets a little bitter.
Yes.
Have you ever had a sour grape? Like bit into it?
Oh,
And-
yes.
Pretty sure I have.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
rough.
I like grape leaves. Does that
Oh,
count?
yeah, stuff
No.
with.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway,
How
where
do
you
we
are
get on the
straight.
food again? We got.
Oh, it's because we haven't eaten yet.
But see that Jesus is the bread of life, and now he's the vine providing. So
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that John does a very good job of putting this together and who Jesus is. Now, the Jews study all the numerology
Right.
and all these things. They would catch it also. And that obviously you just need one of them. I mean, I am the
Right.
light of the world. You're like, okay, great. you know, I'm the resurrection and the life, but he does 7 of them, which is very significant. It's complete. Jesus completes everything that we need. Everything that we need in this life is in Christ, is in Messiah.
Well, and
So-
that's the title, the I am that I am. I am everything.
Yeah.
And that, so the 7 fits that whole completion, the whole cycle.
Yep.
Yep, I am everything you need. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get out of this, and we'll get to the next segment.